There is a truth about the human mind that few ever dare to confront, a hidden architecture of longing, fear, and desire. It's a truth that, once seen, can illuminate the path from chaos to clarity, from captivity to freedom. Yet, it is not given lightly. To grasp it, you must stay present. You must witness it. You must resist the urge to look away. Much of life is governed by invisible battles, silent wars waged in the recesses of your own consciousness. These wars are not fought with swords or shields. They are fought with the subtle currents of attention, the tug of cravings, the quiet pull of habits that promise relief but deliver emptiness. Addiction, in its many forms, the drink, the smoke, the incessant scroll, the compulsive distraction, is merely the surface of a much deeper struggle. The struggle between who you are and who you have denied yourself to be. The philosopher Carl Jung offered a vision unlike any other. He saw the patterns of human compulsion, not as failures of will, but as signposts. Each urge, each repeated action, is a message from the psyche, a coded transmission from the parts of ourselves we have hidden away. People will do anything, Jung wrote, to avoid confronting the depths of their own being. And he was right. It is not weakness that binds us. It is the terror of intimacy with ourselves. Imagine the stillness of night. The world is asleep, and in your own room, a quiet pull beckons. You reach for relief, a habit, a distraction, a fleeting escape, and for a moment, the world softens. But the relief is ephemeral. The moment passes, and you are left with the echo of shame, the question that gnaws, why do I continue, even knowing how it will end? Most people approach craving as an enemy to be fought, an intruder to be expelled. But Jung's lens transforms the battlefield into a classroom. Every compulsion is a teacher. Every urge is a messenger from the depths, asking, what have you not yet seen? What have you refused to feel? Pause here. Imagine for a moment that you were entirely complete, entirely at peace. What would you need to numb? What would you need to avoid? The craving, the compulsion, the restless pull is always a signal, not of moral failure, but of incompletion, of absence, of unrecognized need. The shadow, Jung tells us, is the repository of the denied, the disowned, the suppressed. It is the archive of everything we do not dare to acknowledge about ourselves. And the shadow is not quiet. It does not vanish simply because we avert our eyes. It whispers, it pulls, it insists. Addiction is one of its favored disguises, a form that promises comfort, but feeds upon avoidance. When you tell yourself, I just want to escape for a moment, the shadow murmurs underneath. You are not enough. You are incomplete. You are afraid. Every habit, every compulsion is a mask, a false face for the pain that you have yet to recognize. In our society, the solution is almost always framed as self-control. Say no, be strong, resist, fight, but force cannot conquer the unconscious. It can only provoke resistance. Imagine trying to push a buoy beneath the water. The harder you press, the more it surfaces. This is the rhythm of avoidance. The craving returns, stronger each time, until you learn a different approach. The approach of attention, curiosity, and presence. The first step toward transformation is noticing. The next time an urge arises, do not flee. Do not fight. Simply observe. Ask, what am I seeking? Is this comfort, distraction, connection, love? By observing, you create a space between impulse and action, a space where choice becomes possible. Most never reach this space. They are too busy, too distracted, too afraid. But you, by remaining attentive, have already taken the first courageous step. Addiction, in Jungian terms, is an invitation. Each craving asks, what have you neglected? What have you silenced? What part of yourself needs acknowledgement? Healing begins not with conflict, but with recognition. It begins with the quiet act of being present to yourself, of tending to the wounds you have ignored. Those who stay, who linger in the discomfort, discover a profound truth. Relief is not the goal. Transformation is. And transformation begins with the willingness to see oneself honestly, without evasion. Consider the mind as an ocean. Your conscious self is a small vessel navigating vast currents. You may try to row harder, to resist the tide, but the ocean is larger than your effort. Jung's insight was to teach us how to read the waves, to understand the currents, the undercurrents, the storms that drive our habitual patterns. In doing so, we stop fighting and start navigating. Every habit, every ritual, every repeated pattern contains meaning. Addiction is not meaningless repetition. It is a coded message, a signal about what is missing, what is feared, what is longed for. Notice the moments that trigger your compulsion. Is it stress after work? The silence before sleep? The envy of someone else's success? Cravings arrive not as orders, but as invitations to examine the places where life feels too heavy or too hollow. What if for a moment you stopped running? What if you approached the craving with a question, why are you here? The answer will rarely be about the object of the craving itself. It will be about what lies beneath. Loneliness, fear, unresolved grief, unhealed wounds. Philosophy teaches us to ask difficult questions. Psychology gives us the courage to sit in discomfort until insight emerges. Willpower alone cannot sustain freedom. It is finite, exhaustible. The deeper work lies in attention and understanding. Jung described the unconscious as an ocean. Willpower is the oar, awareness is the compass. Rowing harder cannot overcome the currents, but reading them can allow navigation. Name what you feel. Give words to your anxiety, your isolation, your fear. Naming is the first act of reclamation. Naming is not weakness. It is the assertion of presence. With patience, you begin to recognize a new voice inside, calm, knowing, compassionate. One that says, I see you. I know your pain. But you do not need to escape. You may stay, you may endure, you may integrate. This is the work of individuation, the journey to wholeness. Not by excising the parts of yourself you dislike, but by inviting them into conscious awareness. Most never undertake this journey. They chase relief, never meeting themselves. But you, by staying, are traversing the path less taken. Freedom is not a single moment. It is a mosaic of small, deliberate choices, each one a step toward integration, toward alignment, toward self-mastery. Each time you face discomfort instead of fleeing, you reclaim a fragment of your power. Each time you notice a craving without judgment, you transform an impulse into insight. The alchemy of the soul transforms poison into medicine. The same energy that once drove you toward self-destruction can, if met with consciousness, become the engine of your renewal. When the craving arises, use it, direct it. Let it illuminate the neglected corners of your mind. Write, breathe, move, observe, create. These small acts are the forge in which a new self emerges. Jung observed that those who healed did not merely suppress patterns. They replaced them with meaningful rituals, with deliberate acts of attention. Your old habits were attempts to manage discomfort. The new rituals are opportunities to meet discomfort with presence. In moments of stress, feel the ground beneath your feet. Before sleep, confront the truths you fear to acknowledge. When discomfort arises, move toward it for 60 seconds. Name it. Breathe into it. Let it speak. Small, conscious rituals become the tools of transformation. Individuation, Jung proposed, is the purpose of life. The integration of all parts of the self, even those rejected or feared. Addiction illuminates not only where your wounds lie, but also where your deepest energy waits. The shadow is not the enemy. It is the map. Every pause, every act of observation, every confrontation with craving is reclamation. You are becoming less divided, more unified, more fully yourself. You are no longer the compulsive, the enslaved, the habitual self. You are the observer, the chooser, The alchemist. Transformation is quiet. It is measured not in grand victories, but in the softening of shame, in the growing ability to pause, reflect, and choose. Trust builds incrementally, one conscious act at a time. The hidden reward of this journey is profound. You begin to see yourself as capable, resilient, and brave. You stop identifying with failure and start identifying with courage. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Your final challenge: let every urge, every pull, every craving become a bell. Let it ring as a reminder to check in with your deepest self. Ask, what do I truly need? What does my soul hunger for? Connection, truth, meaning, rest? Respond honestly. Each small act strengthens the new pattern, weakens the old, and rewires the mind. Addiction whispers that you are trapped. Awareness reveals the truth. You are evolving every day in countless invisible victories. You need not be perfect. You need only show up, to look, to listen, to endure, to integrate. This is the work most avoid. By staying, by witnessing, by choosing awareness over avoidance, you step into a freedom long denied. The shadow, the craving, the fear, they were never the enemy. They were the doorway, and you have stepped through. Now let's take this a step further. You've glimpsed the shadow, seen the patterns, noticed the urge. But awareness alone is not enough. Awareness is a spark. Transformation requires tending to that spark, cultivating it, learning to direct its energy rather than letting it consume you. Imagine your mind as a vast forest at twilight. Cravings are like flickers of fire along the forest floor. Sudden, bright, alarming. Most people see these fires and panic. They run, they smother, they destroy anything in their path to feel safe again. But the forest holds wisdom. The fire can teach you. It can illuminate hidden pathways, reveal roots buried deep beneath the soil. What if, instead of dousing the flame, you approached it with curiosity? What might it show you? Each craving, each impulse, each restless urge carries a message encoded in energy. You have been running from it for years, maybe decades, and running has cost you. It has cost clarity, self-respect, the quiet satisfaction of being fully present. The lesson here is subtle, almost paradoxical. Freedom is found not in avoidance but in engagement. You may wonder, how do I engage with something I have been trained to fear, to resist, to hate? The answer is simple and yet terrifying in its simplicity. Meet it where it arises. Sit with the discomfort. Listen as you would to a child crying in the dark. Ask the craving, the restless mind, the shadow, what do you need? What do you want me to see? The mind is clever. It will offer distractions, rationalizations, excuses. It will whisper, "This is too hard. You are not ready." These are the same voices that have led you back into old patterns countless times. Yet each time you pause, each time you listen without judgment, you begin to reclaim territory lost to avoidance. Here's an exercise Jung might have suggested, though he never spelled it out in simple steps: the ritual of observation and redirection. The next time a craving arises, do not act. Simply note it. Give it a name. This is anxiety. This is longing. This is loneliness. Then, instead of succumbing, redirect the energy. Write, move, breathe, create, speak, reflect. Every small act converts reactive energy into intentional energy. Each small choice is a stroke of mastery. Consider the alchemy at work here. The ancients believed that lead could be turned into gold. Jung believed the human psyche contained its own lead, the impulses, obsessions, shadows, and that, with attention and courage, these could be transformed into gold. Insight, self-knowledge, creativity, freedom. Your cravings are lead. Your shadow is lead. And every time you pause, observe, and act with awareness, you perform alchemy. You transmute chaos into clarity, pain into purpose. This is not metaphor alone. It is a practical, tangible process. Each time you face a craving, you practice saying, I am not my compulsion. I am the observer. I am the chooser. I am the alchemist. And slowly, imperceptibly, this repetition rewires the mind. Neural pathways shift. Energy once wasted on avoidance is channeled into presence, insight, and self-realization. And here is another truth one most never hear. The shadow does not disappear. It does not vanish. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be integrated. To fear the shadow is to fear the very material of your own transformation. To embrace it is to step into your full potential. Every urge you resist, every habit you transform, every impulse you redirect is a stitch in the fabric of your becoming. Imagine a life where cravings are no longer enemies but teachers, where the pull toward old habits signals not weakness but opportunity, where moments of discomfort are not threats but invitations. Each craving becomes a door, each urge a key, each shadow a guide. Now let's bring this into the practical realm. For 30 days, practice the following. Each time a craving arises, follow these steps. First, pause. Do not flee. Second, breathe deeply. Third, name the feeling. Fourth, ask the question, what is this asking me to see? What am I avoiding? Fifth, redirect the energy into a conscious action, journaling, movement, creativity, dialogue, reflection. Sixth, observe the effect. Record it. Witness the subtle shift. Over weeks, you will notice something remarkable. You will begin to see patterns where none were visible before. You will feel the space between impulse and action expand. You will recognize your own power, subtle but undeniable. The craving no longer controls you. You control the response. The energy of desire, once a chain, becomes a lever, a tool of self-mastery. This is where philosophy meets psychology. Philosophy asks the questions, who am I? What is real? What is worth pursuing? Psychology gives you the tools to sit with the answer, even when it hurts. Together, they form a scaffold, a path through the shadow, through addiction, through longing, toward wholeness. Consider the story of an individual who for years felt powerless against the pull of a single habit. They tried everything, willpower, discipline, distraction. Nothing worked. Until one day they paused. They named the urge. They felt it fully. And instead of fleeing, they acted intentionally. They wrote. They breathed. They moved. In that moment, the habit lost its grip, not because the urge vanished, but because mastery replaced reaction. That small, conscious act shifted the course of the psyche. And with repetition, the seemingly impossible became possible. Your journey is exactly like this. The path is neither straight nor easy. It is full of setbacks, reversals, and moments of doubt. But each conscious pause, each act of awareness, each engagement with the shadow is a step into freedom. Jung called this process individuation. It is the integration of the fragmented self, of light and dark, desire and restraint, impulse and wisdom. Addiction, compulsions, cravings, and shadows are all signposts pointing toward what has yet to be integrated. They show the cracks in your identity, but also the hidden reservoirs of strength, energy, and potential. And here is the most profound insight of all. Every craving is a teacher, every shadow a doorway, every moment of discomfort a portal to growth. The energy that once fueled avoidance can now fuel transformation. You are not broken. You are not helpless. You are, in every instant, capable of alchemy, of I. As you continue, notice the subtle signs of transformation. The voice of shame softens. The compulsion loses its authority. Reflection becomes natural. Pause becomes effortless. Your relationship with yourself deepens. You no longer react unconsciously. You respond consciously. And in these quiet, almost invisible moments, identity shifts. You become the observer, the chooser, the alchemist. By the end of this journey, something remarkable happens. You realize that freedom was never outside of you. It was always within, waiting patiently beneath the shadow, beneath the craving, beneath the fear. Each act of awareness uncovers it. Each engagement with discomfort reveals it. Each conscious choice embodies it. And so the final truth emerges. Addiction, craving, shadow, fear. They were never enemies. They were the mirrors, the guides, the fire, and the lead. And if you step into the work with courage, patience, and curiosity, you transform not only the shadows and the cravings, but yourself. You become whole. You are the observer, the witness, the participant, and the alchemist of your own life. Now let's move from theory into practice. Awareness and insight are the spark, but transformation requires ritual, discipline, and deliberate engagement. Jung often emphasized that the unconscious speaks in symbols, in rhythms, in repeated patterns. The habits you think you are escaping are in truth the language of your inner world. To understand them, you must translate them into conscious action. Start by observing. Each day, set aside a small window of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 if you can. Sit quietly. Do not flee from discomfort. Invite it in. Ask, what wants my attention today? What part of me have I avoided? Then write. Write without judgment, without censorship. The words themselves are alchemical. They turn chaos into clarity, unconscious material into conscious insight. Next, move. Physical movement is an extension of psychological integration. Every habit, every craving carries kinetic energy. If your impulses pull you toward distraction, toward numbing, channel them into motion. Walk, stretch, dance, lift, run. Allow the energy to circulate. Feel it in your body, not just your mind. The alchemy of shadow work is not purely intellectual. It is embodied. Then integrate. The shadow is not vanquished, it is invited. Each uncomfortable thought, each fear, each unacknowledged desire is a piece of yourself waiting to be seen. Naming it is the first step. Feeling it fully is the second. Acting intentionally in response is the third. This triad, recognition, presence, deliberate action, is the essence of transformation. Consider a typical craving. Perhaps it is the pull of sugar, the call of social media, the desire for alcohol, or the reflex to escape into sleep when the mind is restless. Don't resist immediately. Observe. Ask, what am I really seeking? Often, the craving is not for the substance itself. It is for comfort, for connection, for recognition of your own need. Respond not by suppressing, but by providing what is truly sought. Write a page. Call a friend. Engage in a meaningful task. Move your body. Offer yourself what has been denied. Over time, these small interventions compound. The compulsive pattern loses its grip. The energy that once fueled avoidance becomes fuel for creation, for insight, for growth. The cycle of craving is transformed into a cycle of self-mastery. Now let us step deeper into the philosophical dimension. Craving, addiction, and shadow are not merely personal problems. They are universal human conditions. Every culture, every era, every individual wrestles with the tension between desire and self-restraint, between instinct and awareness. The philosopher Epictetus wrote, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." But mastery is not domination, it is understanding. It is reading the currents beneath the waves, not attempting to row harder against them. In practical terms, self-mastery is composed of tiny, repeated acts. It is the decision, moment by moment, to meet discomfort rather than flee, to feel fear rather than avoid it, to acknowledge pain rather than mask it. And with each act, the neural pathways of habit are rewired. The shadow becomes less terrifying because it is no longer unknown. It becomes a guide, a teacher, a source of insight and power. This is the essence of individuation, the integration of all parts of the self. Light and dark, comfort and craving, desire and restraint, pain and joy, all are welcomed, all are examined, All are held in conscious awareness. Jung called this the journey toward wholeness, and the path is illuminated by the very forces we once feared: the shadow, the craving, the impulse. Now, a practical exercise to embed this teaching into daily life: the craving compass. Each time a craving arises, pause and imagine a compass in front of you. Ask, where is this energy pointing? What does it reveal about my current needs, my fears, my unacknowledged desires? Then, respond intentionally. Choose a direction: reflection, creation, connection, movement, and follow it for even a few minutes. Each act reinforces the capacity to act consciously, rather than reflexively. Another technique is the shadow dialogue. Identify a recurring pattern or habit you wish to transform. Sit quietly and imagine it speaking to you. What does it say? What does it want you to understand? Listen without judgment. Then, respond as your conscious self. This dialogue turns the habit into a teacher and transforms reactive energy into intentional energy. As you engage in these practices, you will notice a subtle shift in identity. You are no longer merely the person acted upon by impulses, cravings, or shadows. You become the observer, the participant, the alchemist. You learn to hold discomfort without fleeing, to listen without reacting, to integrate without suppressing. The final stage of this journey is the alchemy of desire. Desire itself is energy, a spark, a current, a signal. Most people use desire destructively. It drives repetition, compulsion, and avoidance. But when redirected consciously, desire becomes a force for transformation. Each urge carries the blueprint for growth. Each craving is a seed of insight, and when cultivated with awareness, it becomes a catalyst for evolution. Imagine for a moment that every impulse you once resisted or feared is a raw material, lead waiting to be transmuted into gold. Your habits, your cravings, your shadows are the very matter from which your new self can be forged. And the forge is your attention, your awareness, your deliberate action. This is the ultimate insight. Freedom is not external. It is not the absence of craving, the absence of fear, the absence of shadow. Freedom is the capacity to engage consciously with all that arises, to act intentionally rather than reactively, to integrate rather than reject. And so, the final message. Your journey through craving, through habit, through shadow is not a detour from life. It is life. It is the process by which you discover that you are not broken, that you are not powerless, that you are not defined by your impulses. You are capable of integration, transformation, and mastery. Every craving is an invitation. Every shadow is a guide. Every moment of discomfort is a portal to growth. And each time you respond with awareness, you reclaim a fragment of your power, a spark of freedom, a piece of your true self. The journey is long. It is full of uncertainty, challenge, and reflection. But it is also full of possibility, insight, and wonder. The energy of the shadow, once feared, becomes the energy of creation. The impulses, once destructive, become the instruments of mastery. And the cravings, once a chain, become a ladder to the self you were always capable of becoming. So pause, breathe, observe, name, engage, integrate, act. And in these moments, remember, you are not defined by your past. You are not confined by your fears. You are not powerless in the face of desire. You are the alchemist of your own life. Step by step, moment by moment, you transform lead into gold, shadow into light, craving into insight, fear into courage, habit into freedom. You are becoming whole. And as Jung wrote, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Let this truth echo in every moment of awareness. Let it guide you through cravings, shadows, and discomfort. Let it remind you that freedom, mastery, and transformation are not distant ideals. They are your birthright, your inheritance, and your daily practice. You are ready. You are capable. You are whole.